introduce both Tina and I, so I don't think we need to say anything more about ourselves. And you can see here where we're located. In Korea, we're on a peninsula that dangles between China and Japan. We're located right in Seoul, the capital of Korea, and we're about 25 miles from the DMZ that separates the peninsula into North and South Korea. We'll move on. So, the top reasons to come to Korea, there are just so many reasons to choose Korea, but I would like to highlight a few. It's home to K-pop. I don't think I need to say any more. You can visit the places pictured in your favorite music videos and experience the culture and that the songs depict. There's also esports. Korea is the home of esports. There are game rooms everywhere, and they're super cheap to use. They have huge monitors, and the computers are super fast. Korea has one of the fastest internets in the world. And of course, there's the food. Korean food is amazing. It's super yummy and inexpensive, from everything from street food to what you find in restaurants. There's also the people, of course. Koreans are very friendly, they're caring, they're warm-hearted, and they'll go out of their way to help you. And Korea is very safe. The US State Department gives Korea a very low crime rate. There's very little violent crime in Korea, and Koreans cannot own guns. And of course, if you want to learn Korean language, there's no better place than Korea to learn the language. And while you're in Seoul, you'll have plenty of opportunities to learn and to use. Tina?
So, yes, so what's so special about Seoul? What are Seoul's best highlights? First, there are countless beautiful and interesting places to visit in Seoul. Seoul is a mix of historical and contemporary. And there are beautiful palaces in the center of Seoul, and parks and mountains for hiking and relaxing, and interesting museums. Then, on the more exciting and contemporary side of things, there are arcades, PCbangs, norebangs everywhere, and animal cafes where you can play with puppies and cats, and even sheep or raccoons for those of you who are feeling adventurous. Next, Seoul is a great city to just stroll around in. In addition, Seoul has some of the best public transportation in the world. It's efficient, clean, and safe, and it's very easy to get anywhere you want to go in the city using public transportation. And lastly, like I said before, Seoul has an awesome mixture of traditional Korean culture and modern pop culture. So for you K-pop and esports fans, Seoul is the best place to be. You could tour a traditional Korean village and have tea in the morning and run into up-and-coming K-pop groups performing around the city, or esports tournaments and stadiums at night.
Yes. Now, just to talk a little bit about what the summer programs are like. A typical week includes, as you can see, 15 hours of content class. That's 3 hours daily. It's usually 9 to 12. You'll have a teacher who is either teaching you about K-pop or a teacher teaching you about esports. And then the afternoons are filled with things like guest lectures, Hangul Haja, that is Let's Do Korean. And that's a kind of survival language class. Lots of fun, and you'll have a chance to use what you're using in the class when you go out on activities, especially when you interact with the local Korean students. There's also lots of cultural activities in the afternoons, and you'll have free time to explore and have fun on your own. And of course, there's time to do exciting projects for either K-pop or esports, whichever program you choose. So that's a typical week, typical day, pretty much. So let's move on.
In addition to morning classes, we'll offer a variety of daily activities and excursions to help you learn more about Korean culture. For example, we're going to learn about Korean food through street food tours and cooking classes. And we're also going to take you to a moonlight tour of Korean palace, where everyone is going to get to wear traditional Korean clothes, which is called hanbok. In addition, you'll go see indie concerts and street performances in Hongdae. Moreover, you'll explore virtual reality and themed cafes, such as an animal cafe or escape room, or a 2D cafe that makes you feel like you're in a cartoon. So for K-pop fans, you travel to locations featured in K-pop videos. For esports fans, you travel to esports museums and stadiums as well.
Cool. And as we were mentioning, we have two program options.
Sorry,
K-pop
do you mind? Because there was a reaction in the chat about the food. You mentioned cooking classes. Do you know what kind of food you would be cooking?
We're going to learn about like how to make Korean kimchi. Do you know kimchi, Korean staple? And you will also have a chance to cook like Korean, traditional Korean desserts.
Thank you.
Or bibimbap, all kinds.
Sounds fun to me. Anyway, I think everybody already knows that we have two program options, K-pop immersion and gaming and esports culture. And we'll talk a little bit more about them as we move along.
All right, so as you can see my background, I'm a huge fan of K-pop music. So during the K-pop program, you'll go see concerts and street performances in Hongdae. This will be a great opportunity to learn more about various types of Korean music and meet interesting musicians, singers and writers, bands and performers. Moreover, you'll meet K-pop artists, maybe BTS, who knows? Personally, I love to meet J Park, but we want to surprise you, so please join our program. You'll also get to meet producers who write K-pop songs and learn about what goes on behind the scenes of K-pop production. In addition, you'll learn about traditional Korean music and learn how to play traditional Korean musical instruments. And furthermore, we'll visit a dance studio and learn some K-pop dance moves from K-pop backup dancers. And you'll travel to locations featured in K-pop videos and enjoy meals at restaurants run by K-pop stars. And you'll also have a chance to make your own K-pop music video. And finally, your soul mates will be your local friends while you're here. And they will show you other hidden gems around the city. And these are just some examples of some things that you'll be doing while you're here. But I promise that there are lots more fun activities and surprises waiting for you.
I have to tell you guys that Tina is like a magnet. She's often arriving at the office telling me that she's bumped into some idol or even actors and actresses from the States sometimes. She's a real magnet for those types of things. So, okay, we'll talk a little bit about gaming and esports. To provide this program, we've teamed up with Shinji. Shinji is a leading esports company. And because of this tie-up, you'll get to study with professional gamers, professional coaches, and also with other professionals in the gaming industry. And during your classes, we had mentioned you have class in the morning. During your classes, you'll learn about the history of esports, and you'll also discover how the industry has exploded in the last few years. You'll get a chance to meet professional gamers, also casters. You'll have a chance to attend some tournaments. And of course, you'll get to tour the Chinji headquarters, where all of the teams practice. So that'll be a lot of fun. And as part of the program, part of your studies, you will actually plan, organize, and execute an esports event. And just so you know, many of your classes will take place in PCBOM. How cool is that, you know? And when you're not in class, you'll be exploring the city with local Korean students to learn about Korean culture, much like the K-pop students do. You'll tour ancient palaces and other historic sites, visit traditional markets, theme cafes, and do some Korean cooking, whether it's kimchi or desserts or maybe even bibimbap. You'll do all kinds of fun things. And you'll have a chance to also do some community service to give back something to the community. And you'll have a chance to do some things like attend indie concert. All kinds of fun things for esports. And before we move on to the Q&A, just some reminders that if you finish your application by December 1st, you'll have a chance to win a free flight, and Alumni can save you $200 if you start your application through their referral link. Pierre might want to add to this.
No, you did a fabulous job explaining it. The only catch with the alumni discount is that it's for new applications, so you can't. You have to start a new application through an alumni referral link if you know anybody who's done a CIE program.
Cool.
I would love it if we could. You probably can stop sharing your screen, and it'd be great if you guys could unmute if you want to ask a question.
Please ask away.
Any
How many
questions?
of
Can you tell us about the housing?
the housing?
Mhm.
Okay. All the students on both programs will be housed in a hotel, and the hotel has meeting rooms where we will have different sessions, like our orientation sessions. We'll have some lectures, guest lectures, and do some activities in the meeting rooms there. And the hotel is located right in the heart of the historic district of Seoul. It's very conveniently located to public transportation, and it's in walking distance of many of the most important landmarks in the city, such as the palaces. We're within walking distance of 5 palaces, shrines, lots of museums, all kinds of things in the area where the hotel is located. Any more questions?
Yeah, I
I
have
have
a question. How does the travel work to Seoul? So we're flying from the U.S. My daughter obviously is a high school student. Are there like chaperones through CIEE that travels with the kids to South Korea?
Yes, I can take that one. So the cost of the program does not include the airfare. but
Yep.
you have 2 options for the airfare, and we'll communicate with students about that in February, when we ask students to start getting their airfare, their tickets. You can either fly on your own if you want, or you can book a seat on a chaperone flight. And the chaperone flights usually, I don't have the information now because we always wait until we know which student is going, and where those students live. But we usually try to offer 2 or 3 hub airports in the US in major cities like New York or San Francisco. And typically, if you don't live in one of those areas, you take a domestic flight alone to meet the group at the hub airport. And the CIE chaperone will wait for you at the gate of departure. So you go through security alone and then meet the group at the gate. And then you'll take the international leg of the trip with that group and the chaperone. And then the local CIE staff welcomes you at the airport. If you were to travel on your own through your own flight, you would be requested to land within a specific time window so that someone can meet you at the airport. And it goes the same for the return flight. We also offer chaperone flights on the way back.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a good question, Tina and Suzanne, about the weekends. If you can explain how the weekends go.
Well, okay. So on weekends, we offer lots of like fun activities, and students can engage in those activities with local students. So
There's no class on the weekends.
No classes on weekends. So more fun activities.
Did you take any overnight weekends or excursions, or is it all in Seoul?
We will offer day trips.
Day trips, okay. There's a question about housed in dorms at a college. I don't know if that is true still.
There's a question what?
Sorry, the last question in the chat says, some session would be housed in dorms at a college. I don't know if the dorm is actually in a college or not.
We used to house students in dorms on the university campus where CIEE is located, but we're not going to be able to get enough rooms, so we are housing students in hotels.
I see, okay. So we should update that, to your point. Thank you for flagging that.
It's a hotel that we have used many times in the past for both our regular programs and our high school programs. As I said, it's very conveniently located. The students enjoyed it. The students will be 2 students to a room. And of course, the program leaders, some people call them chaperones, they will be with the students at all times. So
I may have missed this in the beginning, but I had a question in regards to our children being able to use their cell phones in Korea. Would they have to would you guys set them up with some kind of device or some accessibility so they can use it internationally?
we can help them get a SIM card, a Korean SIM card, so that the phone can be used both in Korea to receive Korean numbers, as well as to call abroad. It's just a matter of switching out the SIM card. Right, Tina?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm assuming that would happen before travel.
No, it would happen
So
after they
on-site.
arrive.
There is a question about quarantine in the chat. I believe that if we had, I mean, it's a 3-week program. So if there was, things have been so changing in the past 2 years with travel restrictions. If we were in a position where the Korean government required an extensive quarantine, we would not be able to run the program. Our hope is that it does not happen. I don't know, Suzanne, if you can talk about the current conditions with COVID.
Well, Currently, everyone who arrives in Korea must go through 10-day quarantine. This was just changed a week or so ago from 14 days to 10 days. We hope that, yes, we hope that soon the quarantine, the required quarantine will be lifted. We haven't heard any talk of it, but we believe that it will be lifted in the next few months. At least that's our hope. Yep. People must wear a mask here. It's mandatory. If you're outside, if you're in a public place, you must wear a mask. And Korea does contact tracing. And so when you go into, for example, a office building or a restaurant or a museum, you either have to use a QR code to enter, or you have to write down your contact information, or some places have a phone number that you call. It's an automated call. You're not charged for it. You just dial that number and you're put into the system. So if you needed to be reached, the CDC could reach you. We do not have isolation or quarantine on people right now, other than those who are coming into the country. And anyone who tests positive, of course, must isolate, but they can isolate at their homes. There's no restriction now on shops and restaurants and everything. They can be open around the clock. We do have some gathering restrictions right now for, like, going to a restaurant. You can't have more than 10 people. But otherwise, things go on as normal. Our students now, they've been having a great semester and doing all kinds of activities. We organize all kinds of fun events for the students, things like cooking classes, taekwondo, making rice cakes, which is a dessert, day trip, all kinds of things. So it really hasn't affected us that much.
I will add actually that last summer we were able to send 1,200 students abroad in 8 different countries, so none in Asia. And the reason why the only places we were supposed to send students and did not is really because local governments had prohibited travel. But in every place where we were legally able to send students, we were successful at sending students, and they had a wonderful time. And I think overall we had, on 1,200 students traveling with us last summer, we had about just 2 students testing positive without any symptoms. But, you know, to fly back to the US, you have to have a negative test. And so 2 students like that tested positive out of 1,200. It's probably a better rate than if they had stayed in the US at that point. The kids were really compliant and great about following the guidelines. So we had a really awesome summer. So I'm confident that if we can enter Korea, it will be awesome. There was a question about. Say that again. Sorry.
I said it truly will be an awesome experience.
There was a question about language. Do you need to know any Korean before going?
Well, no, you don't have to, but like we will offer survival Korean language sessions on site, and you will also have a chance to learn about like Korean phrases, and you can also practice your Korean speaking skills with local students. So don't worry about it. Mm-hmm.
And will they be able to spend some time on their own in the city? Is there any free time in the schedule?
There is free time, but what we have found is students go out together in small groups, and the chaperones are not necessarily with them, but nearby.
And something we didn't mention is we have a 1 adult for 10 students, about in terms of ratio. to give you a sense of the structure there. And the chaperones, so we call them program leaders. And they are, most of the time, they're high school teachers or educators who do this as a summer job and who do that with us every summer. They're a great cultural bridge between the local staff and the local teachers and the students, because we hire people who are used to working with US high school students, so they understand the needs of high school students, but they're also very familiar with the local culture. We always hire someone who has been extensively to South Korea, who knows some of the language and can help navigate the city. So they're
Exactly.
a good kind of complement to the local staff.
Yeah.
What's the average group size for the K-pop session?
In the past, the group size was around 30 to 34 students.
We expect that size to be a little bit higher this year because we have a lot of students who could not travel. Maybe you were supposed to travel last year and you couldn't. So we're going to try to accommodate a larger cohort if we can this summer. But whenever we work with bigger groups in our programs across countries, we always make sure that activities are running, that the big group is split into smaller groups, and that we rotate groups through activities so that it doesn't feel like you're doing an activity with like a team of 100 kids. You know what I mean? So it's we manage group size this way.
Yes, most of our activities are done in small groups anyway.
Yeah. There is a question about vaccination, Malika. We do have a vaccine requirement on all programs, but you can submit an exemption form if you have a medical history. So that will be in your application.
Okay, great. I had a question.
Yep.
I was just wondering, like a timeline. Once the student is notified if they are accepted into the group, is that when payment is due at that point, or is it need to be paid in full? Are there payments allowed? What's the general time frame
Yep.
Oh, that would be great.
So usually you have to pay $1,000 deposit upon within 15 days of being accepted. And the full program balance is not due until April 15th.
Okay,
and then,
so when, around what month exactly would the student be notified that they're accepted into the program?
So it depends whether or not you apply to a scholarship. If you don't need a scholarship to travel, you can complete your application right now and get an answer within days and secure your spot on program. If you do require a scholarship to travel, the scholarship deadline is January 14th. And we're not going to be reviewing any scholarship application until we have them all, so that we can distribute the scholarship funds equally with the pool that we have. So if you do apply to a scholarship, you'll probably hear from us sometime around mid-February.
Okay.
And obviously, if you have
a
sorry, go ahead.
The scholarship that you mentioned, how does that usually work? Is it a percentage of the program fee?
It is,
yep. Does it just cover certain fees?
It is a percentage of the program fee. It's from 10% to 100%, and it's based on academic merit and financial need. It's really a unique scholarship program in the US. We have the biggest scholarship fund for US high school students. We have about $5.4 million to award, thanks to a generous donor. But we distribute it equally based on financial needs. So you'll have to submit your parents' tax form for the previous year to justify of your family income if you do apply for the financial need scholarship. I will say, one of the great benefit of the program that students always talk about is the make of the cohorts. because we have this externship scholarship program, we have a really diverse cohorts of students come from all over the US, from all different kind of backgrounds. And it's always a highlight of the stay for students to be able to interact with one another. So the students always feedback that they enjoyed a lot meeting a new culture and also just bonding with a very special group of students. And because the scholarship are also driven toward academic merit and financial needs, it's a combination of the two. We usually have very passionate and dedicated students on program.
Okay, when you say academic, so would the students at this point, I guess they would still be actively in school at that point in January. Would they submit their current GPA? Would
Exactly,
they
yep.
submit a current report card, or
Exactly.
how would that work?
Exactly, yep. You'll have to submit grades,
great.
and you'll need a letter of recommendation from a teacher as well.
Okay, and that would be January 14th, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, one more question about the vaccine. Yes, Malika, if you submit an exemption, we'll be in touch with you about that. And yes, Sophia, if you apply by December 1st, but are still applying for the scholarship, you will be entered in the raffle. That's correct. The scholarship application it's kind of like a Russian doll. It's an application within the application. So you'll submit everything. So to be entered into the raffle, you have to complete your full application by December 1st. It means both your program application and the scholarship application.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And the letter of recommendation has to be from, it doesn't have to be a current teacher. It should just be a teacher who knows you well and can vouch for you. If you know your best teacher you're in contact with is from middle school, we'll accept that. It just needs to be someone who's officially a teacher and who knows you well. Jeremiah, you had a question about the housing. You would stay in the hotel with the rest of the group.
Yes, we're not going to be using the university dorms this summer.
Right. Can you guys give us a show of hands, like either by turning on your camera or using the reaction button to see, like, are you guys more applying for the Kpop program? I wonder if Malika's on Kpop. Just Malika for Kpop.
I can't show either because I didn't know what I was doing. So I did the phone option. So I just called in, but we're looking for the Kpop immersion.
Awesome.
Cool.
If you guys have a favorite Kpop band, you can drop it in the chat. I'm sure Tina will enjoy that.
Yes. How about esports? Are the rest of you interested in esports?
Stray Kids. Oh, J Park. So you have a buddy there, Tina.
Hey!
I will say that South Korea and Japan are some of our most popular programs, and we have very dedicated students. It sounds like many of you were hoping to travel last summer. I'm sorry it couldn't happen. So I really hope that we can make it happen this year.
Have all of you traveled abroad before? Can we see a show of hands or in the chat box?
Never.
Have
Hopefully
yes.
this will be the first time.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah, a few people yes, a few people no. Cool. Anybody been to Korea? before? Speak up if you have.
Or any other Asian countries? No?
Oh, well, that will be a summer of first. That's great.
I have a question about spending money for the kids. What do you guys recommend for that? Credit cards, or what would be your recommendation?
Credit card would work fine. If your child has a debit card, they could use that to get money out of an international ATM machine. But of course, if they're going to use the credit card or debit card, you have to inform the bank in advance before they leave the US that they'll be in Korea and will be using either their credit card or debit card or both. Otherwise, if they try to use the cards, the machines will reject them because they think it's been stolen or something. So you have to be very careful and inform the banks in advance.
I will say though that as a reminder that the students, I mean, it's great that they can spend to buy souvenirs and stuff like that, but the cost of tuition really covers everything from ground transportation to meals, lodging, activities. So if you were a very frugal student that didn't really want to spend any money, you could really enjoy the full program without spending anything. So the spending is really extra. So it's hard to give a recommendation of how much to budget because I think that depends on every family's spending habits. But just so you know, like you'll be able to sleep, eat, enjoy every activity without spending a dime. It's all inclusive.
You only need money for incidentals like souvenirs that you might want, or if you want some snacks or something that you want to get on your own. But as Pierre said, the cost, everything's included.
I have a question. So my session got postponed to 2020, and I just wanted to know, will we be allowed to get like our own team money cards, or will we get like our own transportation cards?
We would give you team money card.
Okay, thank you so much.
Everything will be covered, yes.
Yes, we will provide T-Money card, which is charged with enough money to cover all the activities and things that the program includes. If you go out and travel on your own, then you have to add money to the card.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Lynn, there is a question about the GPA, I think, for the scholarship. There's no like set GPA because it depends on the pool of applicants that we get, but I can tell you it's a very competitive pool of students. So the better the GPA, the better. Jessica has a question about free time. If we wanted to go somewhere, would we all go with one big group? I think you're allowed to do stuff on your own during free time, but we do encourage students to stay in groups. It doesn't have to be a big group, but like we avoid students usually being alone on their free time. It's also more fun to enjoy something with a couple of friends. So on your first day of program, you'll have an orientation that will really help explain how the public transportation system works, how to, what are the cultural cues to look for to stay safe, an orientation around like the different neighborhoods of the city, etc. So we try to equip you with the knowledge and smarts that you need to navigate that free time safely.
Oh, I have one more question. Can we also have the name of the hotel or?
I don't know if that's decided yet, Suzanne. Do you know? Do we have
We're considering two different hotels, but they're all, both of them are in the same area that I described before.
do you know the name of the neighborhood?
In Zadong.
In Zadong, okay. So if there is no more question, just a couple of words on the pre-departure process. Once you're confirmed on program, once the cohort is confirmed, so that would be like in this winter, basically, starting in February, things will start to get concrete in terms of booking your flight, doing your pre-departure task. That will include uploading your flight itinerary, your passports, applying for the passport if you haven't already, and then you'll participate into an online pre-departure course that you can do at your own pace. That will give you, like, that will prep you for travel. And in that online pre-departure course, you'll get an opportunity to get in touch with the other students who are going to do the program with you. So one thing we encourage quite a bit is to have you connect with the rest of the students so that you get to know people ahead of time, form groups in WhatsApp or whichever social media platform you're the most comfortable with, and go from there. And then we'll do an orientation call that will look kind of like this before your travel with our central team to kind of like explain the logistics, what travel day is going to look like, reminders, etc., etc. And then after you travel, you have the on-site orientation with the local staff. That's more particular to the location and what I described earlier, like what you cannot do, neighborhoods, etc. We will also send you a packing list. I say that because there is a question about bringing 2 or 1 suitcase. Usually, we recommend to not overpack just because you'll be happy to have extra room to bring souvenirs back. And usually if you overpack, you end up using just half of what you brought. So we'll send you some packing list that will list the essentials based on your location.
And the hotels will have laundry facilities where you can wash your
That's
clothes.
good to know. That's great.
Yeah.
That would
And in
not
the
be
summer,
included in the cost, though, right? That would be an extra cost.
Yeah, it's like coin operated machines.
Right.
And at the time of the programs, it will be very warm in Korea, very hot and sunny.
Warm,
And
what does that mean exactly, like temperature-wise?
Let's see, in Fahrenheit, 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. And it can be rainy. Korea does have a rainy season, so people need to be prepared for some rain. Like a rain jacket, galoshes, that type of thing.
Right.
Umbrella.
Jeremiah has a good question about, will there be a meeting to go over details on what changed due to COVID? If we do exactly like we did last year, I think we'll do general sessions for every program to kind of explain general evolution of the guidelines and the situation at large. So you'll have a chance to take part to those broader meetings. And then if there are any changes particular to your location, you will get an email notification with changes. And if it's really complicated and worth a phone call, we'll certainly set something up. But last year we were able to kind of set the stage with all the programs and then just do targeted messages for specific location when need be. Hopefully, last year we were not in a position to require vaccination just because it was not as widely available. So a lot of the programs that we ran had a mix of vaccinated and non-vaccinated kids, which forced us to enforce more strict guidelines for social distancing, etc. But this year, because everybody will be vaccinated, including not just you, but the staff, the teachers who travel with you, everyone you're going to be interacting with, we hope that the experience will be as close to normal as possible.
Just so you know, Korea is vaccinating very rapidly, and now 80% of the population is fully vaccinated.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're continuing with the vaccinating.
There's a couple of questions on the flights. We don't have yet the name of the hub cities that will be offered for the group flight because these are decided based on the cohort of students who travel. We try to basically book a group flight in locations that are convenient for most students on the group. So we will communicate with you about that in February. But the idea is that if you do not live in the city where there is a hub airport, a CIE hub airport, you will take a domestic flight on your own to meet the group at the hub airport. I have a hard time pronouncing airport. I'm French. Doing my best here. The transcription is brutal, though. Seeing myself transcripting in English is a little scary.
It's exciting. I'd like to add that just to give people an idea of the time difference, it's 10:50 in the morning here in Korea, Wednesday morning. I think
Suzanne
where
lives
most of you
in
are,
the future. Yeah. Sorry.
Where most of you are, it's nighttime, I think. It's probably early or late evening, depending on which coast of the US you're on or between. But here it's currently morning, Wednesday morning.
Wow. Currently here it's 7:50 Tuesday night.
Cool. Where are you?
Texas.
Aha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tina and
So
Suzanne
just to
live in
help
the future.
everybody put things in perspective.
Is that, do students struggle with the jet lag? Because it's almost like a reverse day.
Pardon me?
Do students struggle with the jet lag typically?
Jet lag is difficult, and we keep students busy those first couple of days because if you stay busy, you get over jet lag much quicker. If you give in to the jet lag and just go to sleep when you really want to go to sleep, then it's harder to get over jet lag. So the first couple of days, we keep people very busy so they can get over the jet lag. So some people are asking if the deadline of January 14th is US time or Korean time. I think
Eastern
that's
time.
US time.
One thing worth mentioning, if you apply to a scholarship, you'll be asked to list 3 programs that you would want to go on. So it's great that you're excited about South Korea. If you apply to a scholarship, you should also think about like what are the other 2 destinations where I would love to go. Because sometimes we have limited scholarship for specific destinations, or So something to think about. We're approaching the hour mark. So if you guys don't have any further question, we can wrap up. Suzanne has to go get breakfast. Does anybody want to say anything or share or ask a question, or are you guys good to go? Oh, one question. We need to apply. No, January 14th is the deadline. That's our single deadline this year. Wishing everybody luck with the scholarship process. And oh, I'll put this in the chat. If you are in the process of applying and that you have questions about the an application task, or if you feel stuck, you need to talk to the team. We're running on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, so New York time. We're running an application workshop. So that's a place where you can log in. We'll briefly talk about the main application task and how to get them done. And then we can also, our team will be there to help you troubleshoot. So if you wanted to join us, you can check out the page I just listed in the chat, cia.org/GNFair, and you can register for Thursday's session where you'll get help.